Question: why is it when a black person reaches extraordinary success, people assume they must have sold their soul? From Beyonce, Jay-Z to Cardi B, Kendrick Lamar, you name it, whispers of the Illuminati surround nearly every black artist, athlete, or entrepreneur who rises too high, too fast for one's comfort. But this idea didn't start with modern celebrities. It goes all the way back to a poor black blues musician from Mississippi who, according to a legend, traded his soul at the Crossroads for a talent beyond human understanding. Robert Johnson was a struggling guitarist until he vanished for a short time, and he returned as one of the greatest musicians the world had ever heard. His fingers moved too fast, his chords were too perfect, and his sound was unlike anything anyone had heard before or even played. His skill was so unnatural, so supernatural that people whispered he didn't just learn the blues, he sold his soul for it. But what if I told you that the story of Robert Johnson's deal with the devil wasn't just about him, but how black genius has also been feared? That every time we reach greatness, there is a need to explain it away as something unnatural, something dark, something sinister. That the same myth haunting today's black celebrities is the same one that followed a young guitarist to his grave. So what really happened at the Crossroads that night? Did Robert Johnson make a deal with the devil, or was he tapping into something much older, something hidden deep in the roots of black spirituality? This is the story of Hoodoo, the Crossroads, and how the fear of black excellence became one of the greatest myths in history. Hey y'all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Happy Black History Month, and here on this channel we are continuing our Black Witchy History series all month long, where we uncover the black magic in our black history. And today we got the down home blues, so we are in Mississippi, Hazelhurst, Mississippi to be exact, and the year is 1911, where Robert Johnson is born to mother Julia Dodds and father Noah Johnson, but he was later raised in part by his mother's first husband, Charles Dodd. He changed his name to Charles Spencer after fleeing from Mississippi because he got into it with one of the landowners, because he was a landowner, but the white landowners was like, we don't want no black landowner, so they got into it, so he had to leave and change his name. Separate story for a different day. But Robert Johnson moved to Memphis, Tennessee as a young child in the early 1910s because his mother Julia reunited with her first husband Charles, who had fled Hazelhurst, Mississippi, like I said, after a conflict with white owners. And in Memphis is where he established a new life, and Julia brought Robert to live with him and his half-siblings for a period of time. This move exposed Robert to urban black culture, early blues, and the musical influences that shaped his future as a musician. Now, while living in Memphis with his stepfather, Robert was surrounded by jazz, blues, and the vibrant sounds of Bell Street, where some of the greatest musicians of all time performed. However, it was in Mississippi that Robert truly found his passion for the blues. He became fascinated by Delta blues musicians like Son House and Willie Brown, often watching them play in juke joints and picking up techniques by studying their performances. Now, during this time, no matter how good the blues sounded to the majority of the community, religious groups considered it to be the devil's music, a phrase that Robert would continue to hear from his potential in-laws. Okay, so Robert Johnson fell in love with a young lady by the name of Virginia. So she was from a very devout, traditional family. Her family strongly disapproved of Robert, believing that his passion for blues music was sinful and associated with a reckless, ungodly lifestyle. At the time, blues was often linked to juke joints, drinking, and hoodoo, making it unacceptable in the eyes of deeply religious people and families like Virginia. Despite their objections, Robert and Virginia married in 1929 when she was just 16 years old. It was normal back then. Determined to support his growing family, Robert went on the road to play music. He was like, listen, I got to go make this money. I got to get this money by tomorrow so he could support his family. So leaving Virginia behind while she was pregnant, tragedy struck when Virginia died in childbirth in 1930, along with their baby, just as Robert returned from touring. Virginia's family blamed him for her death, claiming it was divine punishment for playing the devil's music. This loss deeply affected Robert, and some believed it pushed him further into his music to distract him so he could just have something else to focus on. Now, Robert and music. Okay, so he had a passion for music, but it didn't seem like music had a passion for him because he wasn't good, like, at all. It was like me trying to play the guitar for the first time. Robert Johnson was not considered a talented musician. In fact, he was often dismissed and even mocked by more skilled blues players. Son House and Willie Brown, two well-known bluesmen in Mississippi, recalled how Robert would hang around watching them play, but when he tried to perform, his guitar skills were sloppy, out of tune, unimpressive. People in juke joints would even tell him to put the guitar down in the middle of his performance because he wasn't good. And they said it didn't seem like he was playing the guitar. It just seemed like he went up there making noise. Like, that's how bad he was. Robert, who was embarrassed and banned from performing at certain juke joints, decided to take a break for several months, some say even several years, because he wanted to master his craft. He was like, all right, y'all say I suck, I got y'all. So he went into hiding. He went into hermit mode to work on his craft. He left the juke joints of Mississippi and traveled further south, rumored to be seeking out mentors and hidden knowledge. Now, some accounts suggest that he studied under Ike Zinnerman, a blues guitarist known for practicing in graveyards at night, believing that spirits could guide his playing and train him and teach him how to play. I'm like, that is so nice. Like, I would love to film a video in the graveyard, but I think that's just me being weird. But others claim that Robert sought out a hoodoo root worker, someone who could help him unlock supernatural abilities. This is where the famous Crossroads legend started to take place, because he just up and disappeared. So everyone is like, okay, so where did he go? What happened? And we'll figure out why these tales started to come up. So the story goes, on a moonlit night, Robert walked alone down a dusty country road deep in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, carrying nothing but his guitar. He reached a lonely intersection where two dirt roads cross, a place whispered about in Hoodoo traditions as a gateway between two worlds. There, under the eerie glow of the night, a tall, shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. Some say he was a large black man dressed in fine clothing. Others claim he had piercing eyes that burned like fire. This mysterious presence, this spirit, took Robert's guitar from his hands, tuned it with a slow, calculated precision, practiced on it a little bit. So Robert just stood there looking at this spiritual energy, taking and tuning his guitar. He's up there like, okay, so what do I say? What do I do? And the spirit handed the guitar back to him. In that moment, something changed. An energy, a force, a gift passed into Robert's fingers. His hands suddenly knew the strings in a way that never had been before. When he strummed, the sound that came from the guitar was something new, something magical, something no one had ever heard before. Without any other word, the stranger nodded, the spirit nodded, and disappeared into the night, leaving Robert standing there alone at the crossroads with his guitar. So after that, Robert returned to the Mississippi Delta. After his mysterious absence, he walked into a juke joint like a ghost from Christmas past. So people saw him walk in, they like, oh Lord, girl, let's go. Here he go. They getting ready to leave. They were like, we ain't about to go through this. We was just having a good night. So Robert saw everyone getting up to leave, but he continued to make his way to the front, had his guitar in his hand, and he sat down to play. So as everyone is getting ready to leave, they start hearing something that sounds a little good, a little like, okay, what's that? The moment his fingers touched the strings, the entire room froze. The sound that poured from his guitar was flawless, fast, and hypnotic. They even noticed he had an additional string on his guitar, so they were like, what is that? What is going on? They were caught off guard. Like, imagine someone who can't sing, then all of a sudden they hitting Whitney Houston notes. You're going to be like, okay, wait, so what happened? Is the mic on? His rhythm was effortless. People were getting into it, getting chills. Those who had once laughed at him, who had told him to put his guitar down, was now yelling, encore, encore, keep going, keep going. Some whispered in awe, while others looked on in fear, unable to believe how someone who had been below average for so long had suddenly become a master it seems overnight. As the word spread about Robert Johnson's unbelievable transformation, people couldn't explain how a man who once struggled to play was now one of the greatest guitarists they had ever heard. Those who had known him before refused to believe he had simply practiced and improved. Instead, they whispered that he had done something unnatural, something dark. The rumor that he had sold his soul to the devil at the Crossroads started with older bluesmen, possibly Son House and Willie Brown, gossiping, who had known Robert when he was just an eager, unimpressive guitarist. They, along with others who once dismissed him, joked or speculated that Robert must have made a deal with something beyond this world to play like that. The rumor spread like wildfire, and soon it wasn't just a joke. It was something that people truly believed. Robert heard the whispers, the stories of his supposed deal with the devil, but he never denied them outright. Instead, he leaned into the mystery, sometimes smiling or playing coy when asked, adding on to his own myth. Now, this rumor was often associated with his first wife and unborn child passing away. People are like, as soon as his wife and child pass away, all of a sudden he get real good at the guitar. He must have sacrificed them. Then as Robert continued to play around town at different juke joints and bars, showing off his skills, his second wife passes away, adding more fuel to the rumor that he made a deal with the devil in exchange for a few souls. So people like, oh, now what are the odds? His second wife passed away? Yeah, he done did something. Which may sound familiar because the Illuminati rumors today goes that the person joining has to exchange their soul for their success. So when celebrities have a family member that passes away suddenly, a lot of conspiracy theorists say, oh, they must have sacrificed them. Oh, now they about to be real successful as soon as they pass away, as if people don't pass away. So this isn't something new. People were thinking the same thing during the early 1900s. So in 1936 and 1937, Robert Johnson had the rare opportunity to record his music, capturing his eerie, soulful blues for future generations. His first recording session took place in a hotel room in San Antonio, Texas, where he sat in a chair facing a wall, playing as if he were performing to an unseen audience. Over 3 days, he recorded several songs, including Crossroads Blues, Terraplane Blues, and Come On In My Kitchen. A year later, he recorded again in Dallas, where he completed his entire catalog of 29 songs, creating multiple alternate takes of some recordings. The raw emotion, haunting vocals, and masterful guitar work in the recordings solidified his legend, even though he was not widely famous during his lifetime. Many of these songs reference themes of deals with the devil, spirits following him, and running from an unseen force, which only fueled speculation that his music was more than just the blues. It was something magical, was a glimpse into a soul that had crossed into the supernatural. So let's go over a few of these songs and the lyrics that added on to the rumors, because you know how sometimes artists come out with different songs, or they may pose a certain way and they're just like, that's that Illuminati. So let's go over a few of these songs. Starting off with Crossroad Blues, he has a lyric that says, I went down to the crossroad, fell down on my knees, asked the Lord above, have mercy. Now save poor Bob if you please. So when people heard this, they're like, oh my gosh, it's associated with the crossroad. It painted an image of a man at a spiritual crossroad begging for mercy, as if he had made a deal and now is regretting it. Many believed he was confessing his own experience of selling his soul at the crossroad. Now let's get into another song, Me and the Devil Blues. And one of the lines says, early this morning when you knocked upon my door and I said, hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go. This lyric suggests that the devil literally came to collect him, a reference that made people believe his time was up. The phrase, hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go, sounded like someone accepting their faith after making a dark pact. Another song, Hellhound on My Trail. One of the lines says, I got to keep moving, I got to keep moving. Blues falling down like hell, blues falling down like hell. And the day keeps on worrying me. There's a hellhound on my trail. And a hellhound is often associated with a demonic force haunting someone. And this song makes it sound like Robert is constantly running and haunted by something that's unseen. And people in the community interpret it as a man trying to escape the devil after making a deal. Another song, If I Had Possession Over Judgment Day. one of the lines says, "If I had possession over Judgment Day, Lord, the little woman I'm loving wouldn't have no right to pray." And people were suspect about this because the title suggests claiming power over Judgment Day as if he did something wrong. Some people interpret it as him hinting at something unnatural or supernatural that had control over his life that he no longer has control of. Another song, it was filled with little hints and tidbits throughout the album. This song is called Preaching Blues, Up Jumped the Devil. And one line says, "Yes, the blues is a low down aching heart disease, like consumption killing me by degrees." And of course, in the title, Up Jumped the Devil ties the song directly to satanic imagery. And he describes the blues as a disease eating away at him, which some took to mean his soul was being taken little by little. And these are just a few of the 29 songs that Robert Johnson would ever record. Because in August 1938, while playing at a juke joint near Greenwood, Mississippi, Robert was allegedly poisoned by a jealous husband after he was caught flirting with the man's wife. According to the blues musician Son House, Robert had been handed an open bottle of whiskey, and the bartender even warned him not to drink it. But whether out of confidence or ignorance, Robert took the drink anyway. Shortly after, he began to feel ill, straggling outside into the humid Mississippi night. Over the next few days, he suffered unbearable pain, experiencing severe stomach cramps, vomiting, convulsions. His slow, agonizing decline didn't match typical fast-acting type of poisoning, leading some to believe that he had been given bad moonshine and he suffered from pneumonia or had been cursed through hoodoo. Some eyewitnesses claim that in his final moments, Johnson crawled on all fours, howling like an animal, fueling rumors that his deal at the Crossroads had come to an end. He eventually died alone, penniless and largely unknown, buried in an unmarked grave. Robert Johnson became widely popular after his death because his music was rediscovered decades later and recognized as the foundation of modern blues and rock and roll. While alive, Robert was just another talented blues man playing in juke joints, but after his death, his eerie legend, rare recordings, and unique guitar skills fascinated new generations of musicians and music historians. Now, before we go, let's talk a little bit about the importance of Crossroads in spiritual traditions. The Crossroads is considered a powerful, sacred place of transformation, choice, and supernatural encounters. It is believed to be a meeting point between the physical and spiritual worlds where spirits, ancestors, and deities can be contacted. In hoodoo and root work, the crossroads is often used for rituals involving mastery, guidance, making life-altering decisions. Practitioners might even go to the crossroads at midnight to petition spirits, leaving offerings or performing rituals to gain wisdom, power, or seek hidden knowledge. Now that I pointed it out, you may start seeing random objects, foods, candles, or even dead animals strategically left at crossroads. When you're driving, you're at a light, you may see it, or when you're taking a walk. So now that you know what it is, now that you know it's an offering, let's leave that alone. In many African traditions, the crossroads is associated with Eshu or Papalegba, spiritual gatekeepers who open the way for communication between the spiritual and physical worlds. People seeking to improve talents, gain spiritual insight, or remove obstacles may leave offerings like coins, liquor, or food at the crossroads to honor these spirits. The reason the crossroads is so significant in spiritual work is because it represents a place of change, initiation, and destiny. Once you enter, you are never the same when you leave. Robert Johnson's story is one that continues to fascinate. Was his talent purely the result of relentless practice and determination, or was there something otherworldly at play? Did he truly pay a visit to the crossroads, making a deal for his supernatural skill, or did he simply embrace the rumors, weaving them into his music to keep people guessing, to keep them on their toes? His lyrics, his life, and his untimely death only deepen the mystery. So you guys tell me, what do you think? Was it black magic or black talent? Or maybe a little bit of both? Let me know your thoughts down below. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. And like I always say, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Until next time, you guys, I shade.